totally against racism. And if the Democrats want to say that white nationalists are racist, I'm totally against that too.
But that's not a Democratic definition. The definition of a white nationalist
well,
is
that's
someone...
your definition. My definition is
the
racism
definition.
bad.
The definition,
Next question.
The definition
Next
is
question.
that the
Next
belief
question.
that the white race is superior to all other races.
Totally out of the question.
So do you believe that white nationalists are racist?
Yes. If that's what a racist is, yes.
Okay, boy, so that didn't clear up anything. And just for those who are out there wondering, white nationalism is racism. It is the belief that whites are superior to other races. That's what it means. That's the definition. That's not a Democratic definition. That's the definition. But after that, Senator Tuberville finally told our Manu Raju off camera that white supremacists are racist. Now, Nia Malika, this is a 68-year-old white man who's lived almost his entire life in the South.
All right, guys, so I want to react to this interview that took place between Kaitlan Collins at CNN and Republican Senator Tommy Tuberville from Alabama, okay? Because CNN is currently having a field day with some comments that they are taking out of context on purpose to try to smear this man as a racist, when clearly this man is not racist. He's worked with black people all his life. Like, I mean, quite literally, the guy was a football coach at Ole Miss during the 90s. He has worked with black people all his life, right? I find it hard to believe that this guy is some sort of flaming racist. But, you know, Tommy Tuberville has gotten in the hot water because of comments that he makes in which he's telling the truth, and he doesn't necessarily have the best politician spin, okay, or the way that he kind of, you know, says things. He just kind of says what he believes. Like, you know, that time where he called out the fact that Democrats are soft on crime because they believe that the people that are doing the crime are owed reparations.
Some people say, well, they're soft on crime. No, they're not soft on crime. They're pro-crime. They want crime. They want crime because they want to take over what you got. They want to control what you have. They want reparation because they think the people that do the crime are owed that. Bullshit. They are not owed that.
So, just to be pretty clear here, Senator Tuberville, in addition to falsely saying that Democrats want crime, that's a quote, they want crime, they want reparations. That is the discussion about whether descendants of slaves should be paid reparations. They want reparations because they think the people that do the crime are owed that. That is, Kaitlan, the most abjectly racist statement I have heard from a U.S. senator in my life.
No, it's not racist. Tommy Tuberville is simply just restating what the woke revolutionaries told us during the BLM riots of 2020, and also recently during the BLM riots in France. You know, the riots that are destroying that country, right? You guys remember, the woke revolutionaries were telling us that the looting is a form of reparations.
I don't care if somebody decides to loot a Gucci or a Macy's or a Nike, because that makes sure that that person eats. That makes sure that that person has clothes.
Black Lives Matter Chicago rallied in support of people who looted and are locked up at the police station at 18th and State.
That is reparations. Anything they want to take it, because these businesses have insurance.
Now, Democrats unequivocally support Black Lives Matter, and the reason why I know is because they supported them during the protests of 2020 when they were looting and rioting. And I guarantee you, if you ask any Democrat senator, do they support Black Lives Matter today, they're going to tell you, yeah, they do, because they don't want to be called racist. So it's not unfair for somebody like Tommy Tuberville to extrapolate the fact that Democrats, because they support Black Lives Matter, they support looting as a form of reparations, especially considering how Democrats at the local level have passed progressive criminal justice reform laws, which in my opinion are the biggest threat to this country. They pass these laws because they say that, well, locking up black people's racist. Because of all the injustices done to black people, they are owed the ability to be able to steal and to loot because, hey, we can't lock them up for petty crimes. It's not their fault. Right? So Tommy Tuberville was simply just restating what the woke revolutionaries have said themselves and what Democrats, it seems like they support through policy, right? The soft on crime policies. They are pro-crime, right? Jake Tapper tries to act like that's not a fact when it is a fact. Just look at all these liberal cities. California, no bail, right? That even 50 Cent was like, yo, this city's done. Democrats are pro-crime. They just are. Look at all the criminals running their cities. Again, Tommy Tuberville didn't say that in the most eloquent way, but I understood exactly what he was saying. Now, that brings me to this interview right here. And what CNN is raging about right now, which is Tommy Tuberville refusing to go along with the race games that CNN is trying to play, the semantics game, when it comes to this conversation about quote-unquote white nationalists in the military. Because the military, after January 6th, started sounding the alarm on white nationalism and white supremacy in the military, right? And they're trying to weed out the white supremacists. Now, Tommy Tuberville, who, you know, has obviously caught on to the rhetoric of the Democrats and how they smear everybody as a white supremacist that disagrees with them, basically during an interview, when asked about this, said, look, hold on now. Democrats smear everybody that disagrees with them as white supremacists or white nationalists. Quote, there are a lot of good people who are Trump supporters in the military, he said, but for some reason, my Democrat colleagues want to portray everybody who's a Trump supporter as a white nationalist. That's not true. Now, again, what Tommy Tuberville is saying here is something that I state on my channel all the time. I even have a mug for it. If you want to buy it at my website, you can, gforemanbcp.com. The definition of racist, according to the left in 2023, is anybody who disagrees with the Democrat Party. Clearly, Tommy Tuberville knows this, right? So when people say, hey, we want to ban white nationalists from the military, you got to slow down because we need to clearly define what a white nationalist is. Democrats have been screaming and telling us for the last few years, or for the longest time, really, that white nationalists or white supremacists is anybody that disagrees with them. They say that the Republican Party is a party of white supremacy and white nationalism, which clearly is not true, right? That's not a true thing. There are no white nationalists or white supremacists in the Republican Party, but that hasn't stopped Democrats like Cori Bush from saying that and making that accusation, in which nobody ever challenges her on that and to say, well, how are the Republicans white supremacists, right? That's never challenged. Now, Tommy Tuberville during this interview went on to say that, hey, they call them white nationalists, I call them Americans. Basically, what he's trying to say is that who the Democrats call as white nationalists, aka anybody that disagrees with them, aka Trump supporters, I call them Americans. That's the full context of that interview. Again, we talked about this 1,000 times on my channel. Again, I even have a mug for it, right? It's a meme at this point, okay? The Democrats' definition of racist, because again, anybody that disagrees with them is a racist, is a white supremacist, is a white nationalist. But again, the liberal media, because they are the liberal media, they took these comments out of context. And during this interview, CNN's Democrat Party propagandist, Kaitlan Collins, is going to press Tommy Tuberville on his comments about white nationalists, because he is basically blocking some of the military promotions that have to go through Congress. Okay, so again, they're going to press him about this, and I want to react to this interview that is going viral because, again, people are severely taking this man's comments out of context to try to smear him as some type of racist, when simply that's just not true. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Right. I do want to give you a chance to clarify some comments you made recently on white nationalists serving in the military. For those who are watching, if they haven't heard your remarks, this is what you said.
Do you believe they should allow white nationalists in the military?
Well, they call them that. I call them Americans.
Yeah, so it's funny how people want to get so butthurt about these comments, right? But imagine this, right? I want to see the media ask Democrats and liberals, do you believe that black nationalists should be in the military? Right? Because the way this conversation is framed, they only frame it from the perspective, well, the only races in the military are whites, right? There are no other races in the military, and we want to rid the military of racism, of white nationalists. I'm like, okay, well, what about black nationalists? I'm pretty sure there are black nationalists in the military as well, too. What are you doing to rid any type of racial nationalism out of the military, right? Again, I would just love to hear any Democrat answer the question of, do you believe that black nationalism is in the military, right? Or do you believe that black nationalism should be allowed? Also, do you believe that black nationalism is an issue, right? Do you believe that black nationalism is racist, right? I would love to hear a Democrat or a liberal answer that question. Watch them do mental gymnastics and backflips to try to, you know, weasel their way through the answer. But notice how she didn't play the full context of this man's comments, which him saying that, hey, Democrats define white nationalists as basically anybody that disagrees with them. And I just reject that, right? I don't think that's the case. That's what Democrats call them. I call them Americans. who he's actually referring to is not white nationalists or actual white nationalists or racists. He's actually referring to Trump supporters, conservatives. That's who he's referring to.
Do you want to explain those comments, Senator?
Yeah, first of all, I'm totally against any type of racism. Okay?
Bam, that's the end of the conversation right there. I'm totally against any type of racism, right? That should be enough for CNN and their race hustling, but obviously it's not.
Okay, I was a football coach for 40 years, and I dealt and had opportunity to be around more minorities than anybody up here on this hill. But when our military has been attacked, was being attacked after 9/11, after January the 6th, and that was my first day on the Senate floor, I thought it was outrageous of what senators from the Democratic side, Chuck Schumer said on the floor that night, calling out people, calling people racist, calling people nationalists, white nationalists. White nationalists is just another word that they want to use other than racism. I'm totally against anything to do with racism. But the thing about being a white nationalist is just a cover word for the Democrats now, where they can use it to try to make people mad across the country, identity politics. I'm totally against that. But I'm for the American people. I'm for military. I'm for Christian conservatives, Democrats, whoever wants to be in the military to fight for this country, to protect this country. That's what it's all about.
But just
facts, right? Again, he's clearly saying, look, Democrats are defining white nationalists as anybody who disagrees with them, right? People who politically disagree with them. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't want white nationalists in the military if that's what you're defining a white nationalist as a Trump supporter, because that is what they define a white nationalist as, and that's not the definition of white nationalism. It's not, right? He's clearly stating that in this interview, but Kaitlan Collins is going to ignore that part of it. She's never going to ask the question of, well, is it legitimate for Democrats to be running around calling Republicans and conservatives and people who disagree with them politically white supremacists and white nationalists, right? They will never ask that question, but they're going to melt down and have a fit over Tommy Tuberville basically not buying into these semantics and race hustling games from the liberal left. Dude clearly came out and said, I'm against all forms of racism. That's it, right? That's all you need to hear. That's all you need to hear.
Just to be clear, you agree that white nationalists should not be serving in the U.S. military. Is that what you're saying?
If people think that a white nationalist is a racist, I agree with that.
Again, if people think that white nationalists are racist, if that is the definition they want to accept, again, this is what he's saying that, yeah, I agree with that. They shouldn't be in the military. Again, there's nothing controversial about that, right? There's nothing controversial about that, okay?
I agree they
A white
shouldn't.
nationalist is someone who believes that the white race is superior to other races.
Well, that's some people's opinion. And I don't think,
That's
I mean,
not
a lot.
opinion.
Oh, it is a matter of opinion, right? Because Democrats told us this is an opinion, right? When they go out here and they smear Trump supporters and everybody that disagrees with them as white nationalists and white supremacists, then clearly it's an opinion at this point. There is no established definition for white nationalists. So again, Tommy Tuberville is saying, look, it's a matter of opinion at this point in terms of what you want to define it as, right?
Pardon?
What's your opinion?
My opinion of a white nationalist, if somebody wants to call him white nationalist, to me is an American. It's an American. Now, if that white nationalist is a racist, I'm totally against anything that they want to do, because I am 110% against racism. But I want somebody that's in our military, that's strong, that believes in this country, that's an American, that will fight along anybody, whether it's a man or woman, black or white, red, it doesn't make any difference. And so I'm totally against identity politics. I think it's ruining this country, and I think that Democrats ought to be ashamed for how they're doing this, because it's dividing this country and it's making this country weaker every day.
But that's not identity politics. You said a white nationalist is an American.
It is identity politics.
You said a white nationalist is an American, but a white nationalist is someone who believes horrific things. Do you really think that's someone who should be serving in the military?
Is a black nationalist an American? Again, this is a question that I want to hear them answer. Because again, this is how they play these tricks in the media, right? If you want to go by the definition of white nationalism, right? Not the Democrat definition, but the actual definition, which is somebody that, believes in like a pan-nationalism, that believes in a white ethno-state, that wants to ensure the survival of the white race. If they're a citizen in this country, then by definition, they're an American, right? Just like by definition, a black nationalist or a Latino nationalist is an American, right? So that statement that a white nationalist is an American, that is not a controversial statement. But I mean, that's just a true statement. I mean, just like, again, a black nationalist is an American. But see, again, the problem here is that what they want him to say is that, well, no, I don't want any white nationalists in the military, without properly defining what a white nationalist is. Because if you go by the Democrats' definition of a white nationalist, and if they're the ones that are dictating what a white nationalist is, then, again, you're going to have people that are banned from the military that have political ideologies that are different than them. And that is the whole point of what this man is saying. Now, is he saying this in the most eloquent way? No, right? He definitely needs somebody on his team to help him say these things better on television. But I know exactly what he's saying. He's not going to come out here and to make this overarching statement in which you can fall into the trap of Democrats saying, look, we're trying to ban white nationalists from the military, aka Trump supporters. But Republicans are against it. Therefore, they're pro-white nationalists. When the reality is that Democrats aren't trying to ban actual white nationalists from the military. They're trying to ban Trump supporters. They're trying to ban conservatives. Okay? That is what Tommy Tuberville is getting at. That is what he's saying. But again, Kaitlan Collins knows this. She's just pretending like she doesn't. That's why she doesn't want to address the point that he's saying, which is that Democrats have basically changed the definition. Again, they never ask Democrats. They never will question somebody like Cori Bush and say, what do you think is the definition of white supremacy? Do you really think that Republicans are white supremacists? Do you really think they're white nationalists? Right? What do you define as a white nationalist? Okay? Is there anybody who disagrees with you politically? Do you really believe that? They will never ask a Democrat that, right? But they will go on and on and on all day with a Republican about what the definition of a white nationalist is. It's really silly.
Well, that's just a name that has been given. I mean,
it's not. It's a real definition. There's real concerns about extremism.
So if you're going to do away with most white people in this country out of the military, we got huge problems.
It's not. Huge problems. It's not people who are white. It's white nationalists.
Well, I mean, that's what Democrats are saying, right? Democrats are basically smearing all white people as racist. All white people are racist, inherently racist. This is the type of stuff that Democrats believe in. This is the type of stuff that their supporters believe in. Again, she's acting out too. She acting like she don't know this, right? When she definitely knows this. And that's the most frustrating thing about this interview. This interview is designed to appeal to people who are ignorant about the Democrats and their rhetoric and what they actually really believe.
That have a few probably different beliefs.
Right?
That have different beliefs. Now, if racism is one of those beliefs, I'm totally against it. I am totally against racism.
But
there's a lot of people that believe in different things.
Is racist, Senator.
Well, that's your opinion. That's your opinion. But if it's racism, I'm totally against it. I am totally against any type of race, or any type of racism. I don't care what it's in.
Okay, Senator Tommy Tuberville.
Yeah, that's your opinion, right? But that's not the opinion of the Democrats, right? We all know what the Democrats' opinion of, a white nationalist is, which is anybody that disagrees with them. But it's just funny how the liberal media takes this man's comments completely out of context. Instead of just asking the question of, why do Democrats smear everybody that disagrees with them as racist, right? Or as white nationalists or white supremacists? Because that's the reason why we're having this conversation in the first place. If Democrats weren't doing that, right? If they weren't smearing everybody that disagrees with them politically as a white nationalist or a racist or a white supremacist, we wouldn't have to sit here and have this semantics conversation about what is a white nationalist or what is a white supremacist, because we would all know, right? We would all know what it is, but we don't anymore because Democrats have changed the definition. Again, it's just, it's stuff like this, man. It's very silly, right? But they're going to go on and on and on about it because, he's not coming out here and saying the magic words, right? Which is that, hey, I don't want any white nationalism in the military, right? Which, again, to him, he's saying, well, if you're going by the Democrats' definition of white nationalism, then, we're going down a path that we shouldn't be going down in this country, which is banning people from the military or not allowing people in the military because of their political beliefs, right? Just because their political beliefs are in disagreement with the Democrats. And in my opinion, I really don't think you should be banning anybody from the military because you think they're racist, right? I think that at the end of the day, as long as that racism doesn't show up, as long as they're not an issue, who cares if that's what they actually believe, whether that's black nationalism or any other form of nationalism. Hey, I think people are allowed to hold controversial beliefs, again, as long as those controversial beliefs don't interfere with their jobs, right? So, I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.